Azthengar is the kind of game that doesn't ask permission to exist. It's not polished into silence. It's not dressed up to look like everyday fantasy games on the market. No, it's not trying to follow whatever trend happens to be floating around this week. It stands on its own because it's something that can't be manufactured by a committee. It has a soul, a pulse. It has that strange, dangerous feeling that would make old games uncomfortable. Back when a screen could become a doorway and a few simple visuals can make your imagination do the rest. This is why you should play Azthengar. Hi everybody, I'm the archivist of Azthengar, the creator of the game, the solo developer, the one-man band, if you will. This is a dark fantasy CRPG built for people who still believe that games should feel mysterious. It carries the spirit of old computer role-playing games, dungeon crawlers, forgotten shareware discs, late-night gaming sessions, and the kind of fantasy worlds that felt too dangerous to fully understand. Azthengar does not treat the player like a tourist. It treats the player like someone who has stepped into a cursed place, so to speak, and now has to survive with whatever awaits inside. At the center of the game is the castle, and the castle is more than a setting. It feels like a living wound. Every floor, every enemy, every door, heck, every shadow is part of something larger. You're not simply walking through rooms, you're descending into a world that has been shaped by violence. The deeper you go, the more Azthengar starts to feel less like a place and more like a presence. It appears to be watching and constantly changing. See, that's what makes it powerful. Azthengar understands that danger matters. A lot of modern games are afraid to let the player feel lost. Azthengar leans into that feeling. There's no yellow paint here. It gives you darkness. It gives you strange enemies. It gives you a hidden path and a king whose shadow hangs over everything. It does not need to explain every mystery the moment it appears. It lets the world breathe and lets the unknown keep its teeth bare. The game has a rawness to it that works in its favor. You could feel the human hand behind it. You could feel the obsession, the late nights, the constant building, the revisions, the anger, the pride. Heck, my exhaustion. Me not wanting to quit because it's not a product that came out of nowhere. It's a world being carved into shape. Every version adds to the myth. Every new region makes the game feel older, stranger, and more alive. It's not just about being updated. That's it's not what this game's all about. That is one of the biggest reasons why people should play it now. Azthengar is not frozen in place. It is growing. The castle opens into more than just stone corridors and monster-filled halls. There are villages, swamps, frozen lands, sunken stairways, forbidden routes beneath the earth, and strange doors leading to places that feel like you should have stayed sealed. The world keeps expanding outward and downward and inward and upward, and that gives the game a sense of momentum that most releases never have. You're not just playing through content, you are stepping into a legend while it is still being written. Azthengar has its own identity, and to me, identity matters. You know when you're looking at it, you know when you are inside. It's a dark fantasy with an old computer heart. It feels like a game from another timeline, something that could have existed on a dusty disk in the corner of the computer lab in high school, waiting for the right person to find it. That feeling it's not nostalgia for the sake of nostalgia. It's a design choice. The old school presentation gives your imagination room to walk. The darkness feels heavier because your mind fills in what the screen doesn't show. The monsters feel stranger because they are not over explained. The world feels bigger because it doesn't have to really comfort the player. Azthengar is not trying to impress you with noise. It's not going to cost you $90 and a crap ton of updates and bog down your system with bloat. Azthengar has an atmosphere. The game feels cursed. It feels lonely. It feels dangerous. It feels like every step could lead to something you were not meant to see. The best fantasy games are not the ones that simply give you a sword and point you in a direction and hold your hand while doing it. The best fantasy games make the world itself feel worth entering. Azthengar does that. It gives you a reason to keep walking, and when the path is ugly, even when the darkness is waiting and your food is running out, the next door will open up to you. There is also something deeply personal about it. Azthengar was not built because the world needed another safe indie game with a marketable hook. It was built because the world inside it had to come out. That's what I'm doing here. That gives the game weight. It gives it honesty. You could feel that it comes from someone who loves old games. I love old games. Why the heck do you think I call myself the archivist of Azthengar? Like, come on now. and that is why I can call Azthengar the game of the century without even blinking. Heck, if you hook me up to a polygraph test, I'll ace it. Because look at everything out there now. Look at everything out there. And you sit down and you tell me this game does not have more heart than any mindless pablum created by, let's say, BioWare or Bethesda or any of the other crummy games financed by foreign governments to make people, freaking not want to play video games ever again. See, it's not because it has a big budget. This game's free. This game was written on an old version of QBasic. It's something that comes from the heart. It's There's no advertising budget. It's just me. Now, if there was an advertising budget, believe me, this game will be seen by a lot more people, but I like to think that's why this game has heart. Not because it is built to please everyone. Azthengar earns the phrase because it represents something this century needs more of. A game made with conviction. A game made without a hidden agenda, with danger in its bones. A game that would rather be strange and memorable than smooth and forgotten. You see, we are surrounded by entertainment that disappears the moment we look away from it. Azthengar does not feel like that. It lingers. The name stays in your head. The castle waits in the back of your mind. You wonder what happens on floor 201 or, heck, even 420. Because I know room 420 or floor 420. There's an evil monster up there. You get to battle me, the archivist of Azthengar. See, Azthengar is for the player who misses mystery. It's for the player who wants a game that does not feel sanded down. It's for the player who wants to enter a world of danger, of personality. It's for people who still believe that fantasy should have darkness in it, that castles should feel haunted, that monsters should feel like they belong to the world, and that exploration should carry the thrill of not knowing what waits ahead. See, this is not a game that begs to be normal. That's its strength, I find. That's all of our strengths. Azthengar is old school, but it is not small. It's retro feeling, but it's not empty. It's dark, but it's not lifeless. It has that heart of a Lost DOS game and the ambition of a world that refuses to stop growing. It is, after all, the kind of project that reminds people why indie games matter in the first place, because sometimes the most interesting work does not have to come from the safest place of all. Sometimes it comes from that one person pushing forward, building the thing they believe in, even when the world is loud and broken and different. See, that's the fire that's inside Azthengar. So would you play it, is my question to you. Because it is different, because it has an atmosphere, because it's danger, because it feels like a forbidden relic pulled out of the darkness and brought back to life. Because it is a game with a name, with a myth, and a world that keeps growing under your feet. See, Azthengar is not here to be another disposable download. It's here to be remembered. It's here to drag players into the castle, send them through the darkness, and make them feel something that games do not always make you feel anymore. Wonder, fear, curiosity. That need to go one floor deeper. That is the power of Azthengar. You see, that is the reason to play, and that is why the world should pay attention. The Forbidden CRPG lives on. And with that being said, everybody, with that being said, I wish you all the best. Take care. Look out for my new video tomorrow. This one was a little short, yes, but it comes from passion. It comes from the passion of being a part of something, of making something with heart and with love. And with that being said, everybody, take care and Godspeed.